This segment is on the experiment with the Spirit, the conversion of manners. So as friends, we've experienced the living Spirit that speaks to our human condition, and we choose to yield, to let the Spirit guide and shape our lives. One of the great openings that George Fox had, one of the famous ones, was this direct experience of the Spirit that we have. And this I knew experimentally. So we as friends come to know the Spirit both through experiment as well as through experience. We experience the Spirit and are changed inwardly in ways that change us outwardly. But then we come to notice what we need to have or what we need to let go of in order to stay aware and grounded in the Spirit in every moment and in everything. And this becomes our testimonies. We come to say, I need this, or I need to let go of this in order to stay grounded in the Spirit. And as we, in that place, we start to reflect our inward life in outward form. We do this in ways that make us available and prepared. It puts our lives in order in a way that makes us available and prepared if and when we're called. It's not our work to be called. We never know when and if we're going to be called. To do this, we use our best discernment. And I'd like to read to you a little bit about the tests of discernment. So discernment is our human capacity to comprehend the inner nature and relationship of things, especially when they're obscure, that leads to keen insight and judgment. It's an actual human faculty. And the Quaker faith is not a blind faith. We test our discernment in many ways. So let me read some of those to you. The tests of discernment are: one, the sense of the Spirit. Can we sense the power and life of the Spirit in it? The second one is persistence in the silence and stillness in solitude. Experiences that truth is persistent in the silence. We even let it drift out of our minds and it keeps encroaching back in. Another test is simplicity, which means direct relationship. Not easy, not uncomplicated, but really direct relationship among people and with the earth. And it's seemingly trivial or impossible. It's not willful or from desire. Truth is not packaged to our size. So the odd ones that are, we seem to assimilate quite quickly because they fit well and they're convenient and we like them. But most of truth comes either really small. It's like, no, I wanted more. Or it comes overwhelming. It's like, I can't handle this. But our practice is to yield. Integrity is another test. So Wilmer Cooper talks about the different parts of integrity: honesty, authenticity, being genuine, and also being consistent between belief and faith and word and deed. Another test is articulation in personal journal and to your companions. Another one is reflection and feedback from your companions so that you're able to articulate either in writing or to another person, and listening to the feedback, to the reflection and the feedback that they give you. Another test is that if it's affirmed by the companions, to take it to the monthly meeting and to testify to the monthly meeting, this is what I need to let go of. Here's the insight or the guidance that I've received. Here's the faith and the practice. And to get feedback. And if the meeting affirms it, they record it. So being recorded in monthly meeting or in regional or yearly meetings. Another test is it's documented in the texts of other communities that have also lived in this manner. Another test is that it can be expressed in writing, in art, in music, in law, in curriculum, in the court. That you can express it within the society. But the final test is the fruits of the Spirit. So when discernment isn't clear, the Hicksite tradition was to listen to your own conscience, to listen to that inward guide. The Orthodox tradition was to look at Scripture and follow that. The conservative tradition was turn to the elders and get the feedback from the elders. So every Quaker community has a little different sort of final test. But in some ways, it's the fruits of the Spirit that you can turn to for the final test. Try it. And if it brings love, joy, peace, strength, beauty, truth, equality, and liberty, the kinds of fruits of the Spirit, then it's trustworthy. So William Penn commented on early friends this way. They were changed men themselves before they went about to change others. Their hearts were rent as well as their garments, and they knew the power and work of God upon them. And as they freely received what they had to say from the Lord, so they freely administered it to others. The bent and stress of their ministry was conversion to God, regeneration, and holiness. So if we're inwardly guided, it's really important to be able to distinguish between what is just my own idiosyncrasy or distress and what is actually coming from the Spirit and inspiration. And there's two main differences. One is that inspiration can stop and just delights in feedback. But distress does not want to stop. It's no, it has to be me, it has to be now, it has to be this, it has to be done. And it does not want to accept and resists external feedback. So it's really important for us as friends, one, to stop and listen plainly to the source of where things come from, and hence the stopping in meeting for worship. And it's really important for us to yield to the feedback, the plain speaking of others, of truth in love without fear, of saying, yes, we can feel the power of the Spirit in there, or no, we can't. And it's not a judgment of whether the person testifying is right or true. It's that whether others are just giving information, whether or not I can feel it. But hence the testimony in monthly meeting. So this stopping that goes on in meeting for worship and the testifying that goes on in meeting for business are the major protections for people who have committed to being inwardly guided. All of our testimonies reflect the one testimony, that we have yielded to the Spirit and let it change it and guide our lives. So we write this in our journals. We testify in our monthly meeting. If that's affirmed, then they take it to neighboring monthly meetings and test it with neighboring monthly meetings in the regional or yearly meeting. It's recorded, and that becomes in the advices or queries and advices, or in faith and practice, and then that becomes the input to individuals. And this, when the output becomes the input, it creates this regenerative cycle. It's sort of a living organism. It's the living Quaker practice.